They say when Ruud Gullit was in the academy, they would give him tapes of Gravenberch to watch and learn from, to the point where he would look in the mirror and see this. But in all seriousness, can he be considered the best midfielder in the world right now? But before we get to that, let's go back to where the journey started. Gravenberch made history the moment he stepped onto the pitch for Ajax. At just 16 years old, he became the youngest player to ever debut for the club in the Eredivisie. Back then, he didn't look like someone who had been thrown in too early, but rather someone who belonged. But from that day, expectations grew, and it was time for a new challenge.
Medical test, yeah, the city is nice. Yeah, I like it.
He got his big move to Bayern in the summer of 2022, and within the first few weeks of the season starting, he got his first goal. But after that moment of happiness, he couldn't have expected what would happen next. I was going crazy in my head. I was lucky my parents had moved to Munich for me. I don't know what would have happened if I had been out there just on my own. It was really tough mentally. This interview was a damning indictment of his time at Bayern, but he also had the mental strength to move elsewhere, to a manager who adores mental strength.
Massive club, but inside super cozy. You will realize that. So we will help you obviously with all we can. Really happy.
When he thought he was alone, it was Liverpool Football Club that made the move for him for about 35 million euros. But it's a bargain, I'd say. And you can say he wanted to move himself because there's this picture of him and it looked like it was meant to work out. But unfortunately, his first season did not go as he would have wanted. But that is probably what is expected when you are part of a midfield rebuild of a transfer window. So naturally, he didn't play and didn't get the numbers that he was probably aiming for. But then something happened which shocked everyone. I will leave the club at the end of the season. While this announcement was a shock to basically everyone, it became an opening for one Dutch midfielder. I'm going to put his stats up right now. In the 23-24 season for Bayern and Liverpool, he played 1,848 minutes, 39 games, 4 goals, 2 assists. Now let's compare that with the season just gone. 49 games, 4 assists, and 4,207 minutes for his club. Let's actually focus on those minutes played because he might have only played about 10 games more, but he played the equivalent of 26 games more. Enough of that, let's get to the eye test. I mean, we can't talk about Gravenberch without talking about the Gravenberch turn, because that's one of the smoothest skills. And unlike a former Manchester United winger, it's actually functional. Let's take a look at an example of how this skill led to a goal. It was offside, but you know, it's an example, right? Van Dijk fizzes the ball to Gravenberch, who controls it on the half turn and advances until the goal is scored by he who must not be named. So what I have to say to that is Bayern lost a gem because we have an extraordinary player on the cards. I mean, I think he's one of the ones where if he gets injured, our season is over. One last thing I want to talk about is that performance against Everton, because that right there is his best performance in a Liverpool shirt. And we might know the reason why. Simply because he's being allowed to play the way that he is best at. More getting forward, but also helping out in the defensive half as well. So more of an 8 than a regimented 6. But that is the end of the video. If you want to hear more of this, more players, tell me what players I should do in the comments. See you in the next video.